Hello friends, this is guitarist Sergio Lara and welcome to a new video. This time I like to talk about this tune. It's country blues and it's a tune that I recorded a few years back in a project, and it's based on an idea that I had for my love of the blues. Really, the very first guitar music that I've heard that I said I want to do that was the blues, probably country blues. Back then, I didn't play with a pick. I only played with fingers, and I was trying to discover how to do the more like, it was kind of a mystery, to be able to get to learn that and to play it. I said, man, that's the coolest thing that I can do in my life. Trying to learn, that blues lick, and I started reading about it and trying to, discover the blues artists that were playing that style. And I remember discovering Muddy Waters, and Muddy Waters, I'm talking about the early records, the acoustic albums that were pretty much just acoustic guitar and vocal, and he was playing a slide, of course, and some of those. But that really, got me, from them on, and then I said, well, I gotta discover more artists, and of course, I heard Robert Johnson, and Robert, obviously, we know the legendary um, talent and influence that he had in all the modern players and the modern what became rock, and some of the main artists that play the blues and rock owe it to Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters, and a lot of those people came up with a very hard to play guitar style that pretty much does everything. You do the bass, the comping of the bass, the rhythm, uh, without needing drums or bass or another guitar. So it's a really beautiful style, and also for me, after I discovered blues when I was a kid, I heard the blues everywhere. I started listening to rock, and of course, the blues is there. Then I started listening to jazz, and the blues is very very prominent in jazz, and the same with even with flamenco, and and all the other styles that I hear. I hear the blues really there. But in this case, for me, I just wanted to try to see if I could learn, to play on my own the acoustic guitar parts that became part of language, that is very important in guitar playing, and especially without a pick, just playing, which is, this style is called country blues. Really, it's a combination of right hand and finger style, and trying to keep the bass going, or the groove going. As a matter of fact, this style of bass playing just with my index finger, I learned from Jim Croce, from a video that I saw Jim doing the. Jim had many tunes that he played rhythm like this, and he was wearing finger picks. And I remember watching a video, back in very early '70s on a TV show, and he was playing like this, and and I developed that. I learned it, and I played all the time, like this. It's different than with a pick, with the pick you have the, but the groove with the, especially when you don't have a pick and you're playing, when you're gonna go from playing this kind of fingerstyle rhythm into a groove, when you want to accentuate the bass, it's a very handy thing. Also on this tune, you've noticed that the tag is, so after the, which is like, if you're playing this A7 right here, just these two notes, and then this is just two strings, fifth string, and the open E. So I'm just going. That I got from Robert Johnson. That's a very common thing that he used on many songs. And the main idea is just try to keep the groove going, with your right hand. And there's really no set pattern on the left hand. I'm just trying to groove, and I'm just trying to go along with the chords without losing my timing. And it's a very beautiful, country blues style. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Leave me your questions and your comments. And good luck with your blues playing. And we'll see you soon in a new video. And thanks for watching. Before I go, I'd like to talk about this guitar. This is a late 70s acoustic electric Ovation guitar. And the model is the artist model. And you can see that this guitar has developed these cracks on the top, but they are only in the finish, not in the wood. It's a very common thing, from the weather, and it's got the bowl back, and it's got a pickup, the regular original Ovation pickup, with just one volume control. These guitars are a great invention, in my opinion, and they are very handy. And they were, the very first acoustic electric guitars that had the electronics that you were able to plug in, in an amplifier or in a PA. A very effective design, because there's 6 pickups, one under each string, and it's got a very, very powerful preamp, noiseless for the period, when they came out, back in the 60s and 70s. The artist bowl, it's a shallower bowl, and it's supposed to be the guitar to play leads on. It's supposed to be kind of a lead guitar, because it's got less bass than a deeper bowl. Back then they did just the deep bowl and this bowl, which is the shallow bowl, or is the artist bowl. And to me, it's more comfortable than the deep one. But on the other hand, also, since you're going to plug in anyway, usually on these guitars, I don't really need to have that bass, although I love, those deep bowl guitars too. Another thing about Ovations is that the intonation is just so good. A lot of the wood guitars, the full wood body guitars, a lot of them, the intonation is not as good, and for some reason, the Ovation scale and the Ovation fingerboards were really, really good. I've used Ovations for recording, many times, and actually there were, for a period of time, Ovations, were my favorite guitars, acoustic electric guitars, just because besides they being very practical to travel and just to plug in, here and there, they sound really good. They sound really good, and they have a different tone very versatile for various styles. I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, I remember seeing even bluegrass bands, with ovations. Of course, jazz players, country. I mean, everybody. It seemed that everybody played ovations back then, just because of the practicality of them, and I think also because they look really cool to me. That's just my personal opinion, but I think ovations are great guitars, and I was able to have a relationship with Ovation back in the 80s and 90s, as a key man, and I've had probably every model from the really really high end Adamas guitars to the cheaper, simpler models like this one. I think this is a simple model, but also another thing, all Ovations have ebony fingerboards, these Ovations, and they were made really well. Anyway, I'm a fan of Ovation guitars, and it's a really nice instrument in my collection. Thanks.